Yeah, I mean, not anymore. Just like back then, I got a handful of like people being like, "You're the guy who made this cancer. You're the guy who made this plague upon the earth." And it's been recently a video with VRChat on their official TikTok page, and I talked about the avatar a little bit, very briefly, in the 7-second window that you get to talk on a TikTok. And even some of those comments were like, "Oh my God, he did this. You did this."
Hello, welcome to Metaverse
Whoa.
Degen. I'm Lion. And no rap today, he's in the middle of a really long shift at work. So it'll be just me and our guest.
Hello, I'm Blueasis. I'll miss you, Raptor. I'm sure Raptor will watch this, right?
Oh yeah, he's gonna watch these.
Yeah. I miss you dearly, Raptor. I wish you were here.
Well, thank you very much, Blueasis, for joining us. What is it you're known for here in the world of VR, and how'd you get started with everything?
I'm known for a few things. I made uh, I made a bunch of the default avatars, like the 8-ball head guy, the brush guy that everybody knows. I made this world that we're in, supervrball. It's a game world. You roll around on balls. It's like Super Monkey Ball. Um, I help on the Black Cat sometimes. that's that's about it.
Wow,
I do a lot of stuff. I'm everywhere, all over the place.
all over the place. So you made the original default brushes that the boys and them used. Is that the ones you're referring
Did
to?
yeah. Did I made it and I submitted it to the default row because the team VRChat was taking submissions, and I was like, hey, I want to put this one in, and they were like, not gonna happen. It's got nipples. And I was like, that's stupid. And then they were like, yeah, that's kind of stupid actually. And then they put it in. I think that was mostly a joke. They were probably joking, but it's still a funny story to tell that it almost got rejected. But it's what they said.
Oh,
But it got in it anyway. And then it sat quietly on the row for a while, and then eventually the boys opened VRChat one fateful day, and they were like, "Hey, this avatar's funny as fuck." Can I swear? Am I allowed to swear?
go right the fuck ahead. It doesn't bother me one bit.
Good. Cool.
Now,
Okay, great.
I think YouTube cares, but I don't.
As long as it's not in the first as long as it's not in the first 30 seconds, I think they don't mind. I think that's the rules. I can't remember.
Ah,
There's some weird meta stuff.
yeah, probably 30 seconds due to people's general attention span when they click on videos. So as long as it's not in that bit, I'm sure that has something to do with that. I don't
Probably
know.
something like that. They've got some mystical algorithm over there at Google. They know what they're doing. Probably, hopefully, one could hope.
Well, if they've been doing the internet thing for so long, I sure hope they know what they're doing. If not, we're boned.
I feel like, as with most things, they're just like doing it as they go along. They're seeing what sticks, hoping, praying.
Hmm.
But yeah, made just getting back on topic.
Oh,
Sorry.
it's
Yeah,
all
I
good.
made avatars. The boys used it. It blew up, and then I ended up making a plushie and a figurine and t-shirt and stuff, and then I sold the IP, and I don't own that character anymore. But it's a cool character. Cool character.
Oh. So, what pulled you into VRChat and your creation journey? How'd you get started with it all?
I have a good friend, a great friend, one of the greatest, called Ethasol.
Mhm.
He borrowed his dad's Vive, his stepdad's Vive, and he was like, "You gotta try this. It's so awesome." And I hopped in desktop, and I was like, "This is funny." And I bought the cheapest Windows mixed reality headset just to hop around in VR and see what it was all about. I didn't get it. Thought it was kind of stupid. But I just never stopped playing the game. I don't know. Some kind of cognitive dissonance there. I'm not sure what's going on. But I kept playing.
Hmm. So, wow. So you came in since then. What was some of your beginning adventures here in VRChat like? What kept you coming back?
I don't know. I don't know. How long have you been playing?
I've been playing late 2020, early 2021. I have about
So you're
5,000
a
hours
you're
logged.
you have more. Okay, you have more than me. You have more than me. So you're a COVID baby. Got it.
Hmm.
I've been playing since late 2017, 2018, early around the time of Ugandan Knuckles blew up.
Hmm.
Hanging around in a beautiful, wonderful map called Gaia Night. I don't know if you've ever been there.
I've been there.
It's one of the old guard It's kind of hard to describe what it was like back then. I If I sound like a VRChat boomer.
Yeah.
But it was a different time. Everything was a lot more wild and random and wacky, and it was just a magical place to be. And now, as VRChat kept growing and growing and growing, it's kind of found its footing, and the types of people that join this game like and stick around are kind of all very similar now. But back then, it was very throwing everything at once, and you got everybody, every type of person that was back there. It was just, I don't know, different experience.
Oh, really?
I kept coming back because it was always fun to talk to people.
So, as a question on that topic a little bit, since you've been here since 2017 and seen the growth through COVID and everything up to now, what are your opinions on how VRChat's changed, as well as do you prefer it now or then?
Uh, I I don't know. VRChat's great. I think I don't know if I would. I don't know if I could answer if I prefer it now or then. I definitely think they're kind of like different beasts. But I think now that VRChat is maturing, it's turning into an actual platform where people can support themselves financially. Like that's definitely a completely different like situation than what was happening back then. It's I don't know. I like VRChat now. I'm happy with it now. Is the answer.
Okay.
But I was happy with it back then. I'm kind of indifferent. I think VRChat's been and stayed awesome.
That's honestly, I can very much understand. I've heard various responses to that on and off the camera. Some people say, I preferred back in 2017, back before all the people came in, and other back when I was your age, there was only like 2,000 people on the platform when things were better. Now they're these COVID weirdos. And then the boys.
It's a different time. You used to like jump on, and then there'd be a new world, and it'd be like an event like, wow, there's a new world. We got to go check it out, and everybody would be there. And I remember the first time I saw a guy in full body tracking. First time ever, I was like, wow, that's so cool. And every before I got in VR into VR, like in a headset, I was in desktop and I was walking around. I was like, do a dab, like just to VR people. I was like, do a dab. The dab, it's so funny. Do a dab, and they would do the dab. I was like, that's so awesome. And I'd be like, I'd be clapping. It was a simpler time. Now it's like you go to the Black Cat and every motherfucker's got a full body tracking. I even have full body tracking. It's just it's so much effort to get into. I'm like, I'm too lazy. Too much effort.
I can very much understand. With some of your accolades, like for example, this amazing world we're in, what were some of the origins of supervrball? What made it come to be? And what?
It started as a game jam world. Well, it's funny because it's like two stories in one. It started as two game jams. There was the boat itself. Was a jam I did with Ethersol, the guy I mentioned earlier. We made this boat together, and then it kind of just sat on my account quietly. And then another jam came around, and I ended up collaborating with a good friend called Fax Machine. And I was like, I need a hub. I'm gonna steal the boat that I modeled already. Of course, I asked Etho if it was okay. I stole the boat, and we made this game world. It was for a VRChat jam called Obstacle Jam.
Oh wow! So, how long did it take to create supervrball, and what made you want to choose this specific style of game? From it seems like it's emulated from Super Monkey Ball.
Yeah. I don't know. The reason that we ended up doing it is because I talked to Fax before. I was like, hey, I want to make a game in VRChat. I want to make Monkey Ball, and he's a programmer. I'm an artist. And I was like, I want to make Monkey Ball in VRChat. I was like, that's cool. That's a good idea. And then the jam gets announced, and we're like, now's like a perfect time to just like do it and see what happens. And it was like kind of like just good timing.
Wow.
Yeah.
Well, it seems so far this game you made has been really popular. How from where it started to where it is now, how much work have you put into it, and what has been the community's response to the game being out?
The original version took like 2 weeks, I think, 3 weeks, 2 or 3 weeks. I can't remember. It says it somewhere over there in the log of the game. I can't. Well, not worth checking. But it was like 2 or 3 weeks, and then that was in 2020, I think, and now it's 2024. So I've been like passively supporting it. It was like a time where I took like a year off of doing anything, but I keep coming back to it and just adding more levels. And I don't know, people just keep playing. There's like a dedicated group of speedrunners who keep coming back. You interviewed Krazium. He is a speedrunner or was a speedrunner. He was more active. Now he's like doing his own thing. He's killing it. making all those cool worlds. I'm sure you've seen some of them.
They're amazing worlds.
He's killing it. And I invited him. Like he started as a speedrunner in VRBall, and I invited him to make levels, and he said yeah. And I think we're gonna do something cool together in VRBall, and he's gonna do a level pack. But that's still prototypes right now.
Wow. So I did see very recently you came out with a new level editions, Digital Dilemma. There, I've actually played through them recently with some of the people. What was some of the inspirations from the new level editions?
Oh, I don't know. I have like a text document of like ideas of stuff that I want to do, and the themes that I had written down, I had them written down for ages. I had the PC theme, the game theme, and pardon me, the glitch theme came kind of late. I was just like, how can I make them cohesive? And I was like, the glitches would be fun because then I can just make a bunch of random assets and a random like assortment of stuff and say my excuse is like it looks bad, but my excuse is yeah, it's a glitch. It's meant to look like that. It's being lazy basically. But yeah, that was I'd been making that for a while and I just pushed it out.
Wow.
And then the creator economy update came and I was like, okay, that's pretty cool. I'm gonna do balls and I sell balls. I'm a ball salesman.
You're a ball salesman. Well, so since you have the creator economy in here, I know there's some NDA stuff, but what has been your interactions with the creator economy and how you've used it as a world builder and a person in VRChat? What's your take on it so far?
Sick. It's awesome.
Hmm.
I love it. I know a lot of people are kind of on the fence about it because they're like, oh, why not just use Patreon or Ko-Fi or Booth, I guess. And it's like, you can use all of those still in conjunction. It's just I think one thing that people forget is the amount of foot traffic you get in your world is like, it's like insane compared to what you're going to get on an external site. Like getting somebody in the world. Okay, I mean, prime example is what I did in VRBall. I have a Patreon, and I would advertise the Patreon in the world, and I would get like X amount of people. They would actually leave the app, leave VRChat, and come and go to the Patreon, which is awesome. Those people are epic. They have, they're day one supporters. I love them very much, very dearly. But then when the creator economy comes out, the amount of revenue that is generated just from having no like, what's the word I'm trying to think of? Like no like wall in between the player to buying things is like, maybe it's preying on some impulsivity of people, or maybe it's just the lowering that barrier of entry makes it easier for people to buy things. And the amount of sales I get on the balls compared to what I was getting on the Patreon, bearing in mind the Patreon was like a lower. There was like you were getting less on the Patreon, but now you're getting the same. It's like three to five times the amount.
Oh
Compared to Patreon. Yeah, it's pretty good. I'm happy with it. And all of the other creators I've spoken to seem to echo a similar sentiment. It's like around, I would say probably 3 to 4 to 5%, 3 to 4 to 5 times more than what you would be getting on Patreon.
Oh wow. So the foot traffic in VRChat makes the pay cut worth it? Because I do know Steam takes its portion.
Yes.
And then VRChat takes theirs. So does the foot traffic make up for it?
Yes, 100%. It's
wow.
like that. That's the number I'm saying. Like 3 to 4 to 5%, not percent, times more is even after the cut. Before the cut, it would be like 10 times, right? Like because you're getting half of what you're getting half of what you theoretically could be getting if Meta and Google and Steam didn't take a cut.
Well, that's really
good.
good.
And then VRChat didn't take that cut.
Whoa,
Yep.
That's good
Pretty
to
sick.
know. So, with that said, I do appreciate your input because I haven't, for obvious reasons, we haven't really heard much about the creator economy other than seeing them pop up in worlds and stuff. So it's good to get your take on that a little bit, to get a little bit of insight on the whole thing.
Yeah. It's. I mean, I'm sure they're inviting more creators every day. I'm in the creator economy server, and there's people coming in every day, and they're getting acquainted with the systems, and it's got some work to go. It's not fully fleshed out. Like we don't have one-time purchases yet, but they'll be coming, eventually at some point. Right now, it's only subscriptions. But yeah, I don't know. It'll be public at some point, and everybody will see how cool it is. I
Hmm.
think, at least.
Well, from at least in my opinion, I'm glad to see the creator economy come about. At least it removes the third party from VRChat, and it'd be
Yep.
awesome to see people do things like buy avatars within here, purchase other random knickknacks and stuff. I'm excited for it.
Too. I'm especially excited for when, because like I make worlds, I make games and stuff, but primarily I'm a character designer. I like doing characters. Avatars are like my main bread and butter. So I'm definitely excited for whenever they eventually do creator economy for avatars. Because right now it's only for worlds.
Oh, well, since you said you're a character designer and you make avatars and worlds, what got you started down that journey? Because, yeah, I'm very curious as to what got you started building things and here in this in VRChat.
I've just, typical. I've always drawn like when I was in school. I'd be scribbling on the sides of the notebook, and the teacher would be like, "You should be doing that on a separate book." No, I mean at first they would tell me, "Don't do it at all," but then I would do it so much they'd be like, "Okay, at least do it in this book that I'm giving you to do it in," which was cool. I mean, I appreciate it that they even gave that to me. But regardless, I just always been artistically inclined, and I with the same person I mentioned before, Ethersaw, he got into VRChat, and we used to do Source Engine modding together. We used to make Half-Life 2 mods and stuff like that as a group. There's a whole group of us. But he got into VRChat and he was like, I can make things and I can be in them instantly. It's so cool. It's so awesome. And I was like, that's pretty cool. And then he was making this one world called Balloon Farm. Really cool world. You should check it out. Balloon Farm's awesome. He was making that world and it looked kind of like ass. I was like, this looks like shit. You should let me do the textures for it, because that's what I was doing back then. I was mostly just doing textures. I did the textures. They're not very good. It gets the job done. It was better than what he had before, which was like Half-Life 2 textures. And then I got kind of a little bit tired with working with his models, because his models were kind of they're good, but there's a thing called UV unwrapping in models, and it's like basically it's annoying. And I ended up learning modeling kind of by accident, because I was trying to fix some of his models, and then I was making some other models, and I was trying to fix my models. But I basically ended up modeling by accident. I just started making characters and putting them in VRChat, and then yeah.
Oh, wow.
And I showed off I showed off my first world at an event called the Community Meetup, which Kraz I think now runs. Didn't back then. I don't know if he runs, but he's an admin for it at least. I have no idea. It's been a while since I went. But I showed off my first world, the junkyard there, and one of the developers at VRChat called Rubik, awesome guy. Same guy who told me that the brush wouldn't be accepted. It's the same guy. Um, he was like, you should publish this world now. It's so cool. I'll put it in the spotlight for you. And I was like mind blown, because this was the first world I'd ever made, and I'm being talked to directly by one of a VRChat staff member, and they're like, we'll put this in the spotlight world like immediately. It's that good. I'm like, that's insane. I'm not done. I want to finish the world before you do that. But I ended up putting it out.
Wow.
But yeah, Rubik is shout out Rubik. Rubik's awesome. He's huge influence on my journey in VRChat. He definitely pushed me to make stuff here and keep at it. He's a cool guy.
Oh, wow.
Big up Rubik.
So, how has that influence from Rubik helped push you to make more worlds? What about that interaction with him helped you continue?
He was just like just keep. I don't know. We was in the junkyard. We were talking one night, and he was like, you need to just like. I think he was pushing me to keep making the stuff I'm making and selling it, because I was under the assumption that what I was making didn't have an audience, because it wasn't what you primarily see in VRChat, which is like anime, e-boys, e-girls. Obviously, I've made this character. I make human-ish characters now. But back then, it was mostly like just little funny guys with like a ball for head, little fox man. But he was a bit. I was like under the assumption that there wasn't an audience for my stuff, and I was like wrong, and he knew I was wrong. So he was like, "You're wrong. You're stupid. He was like, "You fucking idiot." He didn't say that, but he was basically pushing me like, "Hey, do the thing," and I was like, "Okay, I'll try," and I tried, and it worked, and I am forever grateful.
Wow. So, when you found out that your characters have or your work has an audience, what was that experience like for you when you found out that you indeed did have an audience and a market for the kinds of things you make?
I don't know. I was just under the assumption that nobody cared. Uh, and in reality, it was like some people cared, and then people bought my avatars, and I was like, cool, I can make money off of this. That was it. Just
Oh,
kept making it. People liked it. That's it.
wow. So also, I'm gonna do a bit of a whiplash thing because you said something earlier that also kind of interested me. I wanted to kind of tag into a little bit. You said you made stuff for
Right.
Half-Life 2 mods with a team. What got you started with
Huh?
that, and what kinds of things did you make?
I got into Minecraft very early. I know it sounds like completely unrelated, but it's related, I promise. I got into Minecraft very early into Minecraft's life, and I was making texture packs, and I was like, this is fun. I can change how this game plays. And then I was watching YouTube back then. I saw Gary's mod, and I was like, that's so cool. I was like, what is Gary's mod? And you hear people mention it in passing that Gary's mod is a mod of Half-Life 2, and Half-Life 2 is like one of the most influential games of all time. And I'm like, I've never even heard of this game. And then I got a copy of the Orange Box for PlayStation 3, and I was like, this is sick. Played through it, and then I got a laptop for Christmas after begging my mom. And then I was like, how can I play more of this cool game that I want to play? And the answer to that usually is mods. So I ended up looking through ModDB, and I found a mod that looked cool, and I asked if I could join the team, and they were like, sure, because it's just a bunch of kids like making a game. And I was one of those kids who was like, I want to join. And then they said, yeah. And then eventually people kept getting added to the team, and that's like my core friend group. All of those people I still talk to this day. Every single day I talk to them. We play games
wow.
together every day.
Wow.
Yep.
So what kind of mods did your group of people you're friends with, what kinds of mods did you guys make? What was your specialty?
I mean, we never actually made anything. That's the funny thing. we came together as a group of people, and we're like, we're gonna do this. It's gonna be so awesome. Obviously, like during the time of making we were working on a project, and I'm not gonna name the project because there's no point. We were working on a project together, and during that time, of course, we were all working on independent stuff, like just in between working on the project. Eventually, the project kind of fell through, and we all splintered off from the main developer of that, and he still makes it on his own. He's doing his own thing. I think, as far as I'm aware, he's close to releasing the project, which is cool. He's got some holdups though, I think, with Valve holding the mod back on Steam or something. But yeah, we just splintered off and started making our own things, and then yeah, and this was around the time we got into VRChat, so VRChat kind of became the new thing.
Oh, wow. So what was it like making mods for Half-Life 2, or at least playing around with the mod systems anyway?
Annoying, really, really annoying. I don't know. I was mostly just doing textures and some mapping, and the tools you use to do that is a tool called Hammer. It's really I mean, it's good software. It's just old. That's the problem. It has a lot of archaic systems that don't really make a lot of sense.
Hmm. Okay.
I wouldn't recommend it. Unity and Blender are far more approachable, especially Blender. I love Blender.
Oh, really? How long did it take you to learn to use Blender and Unity in terms of making stuff for VRChat?
I mean, I don't know. I don't even think I know I don't even think I know how to use them now, to be honest. I just know how to click the specific like sequence of buttons to make the things that I want to make. But like outside of that, like in terms of the overarching like complex systems, I got no idea, not a clue.
Oh. Well, I will say, seeing some of your models and the world we're in, I think you're a lot better than you think you are. Like the model you're in now
Oh
looks
yeah, no.
amazing, and the world we're in looks amazing, and obviously the brushes became iconic. So give
Yeah,
yourself
I mean,
some credit.
iconic or infamous. What do you think? Do you have an opinion with that? Actually, Can I ask you questions? Am I allowed
Go
to do
ahead.
that?
Go ahead.
Before you knew that I made the brush, what did you think of the brush?
I thought it was both funny and interesting. I didn't hate it, but I
Mm,
disliked the people who would use them in public instances
okay,
because
okay.
they all kind of acted the same. We all know what YouTube channel they watched, and they emulated all of it. And if you're in a black hat instance with a full instance of brushes, which happened a few times, it gets very repetitive, like having multiple tabs in a browser open playing the same video.
Yeah, I I don't know. I got a lot of angry messages for making that avatar. A lot of angry messages. People were not happy about it. It's like, what
Really?
did I do? I just made the guy. Like, what do you want me to do about it?
I personally wouldn't blame you for making the avatar at all for those
I mean, you
those
can't.
experiences. And even you can't even really blame the boys, because with YouTube audience viewers, you can't really control how people receive your stuff and act in lieu of it. And you can't blame the creator of the
These guys are
avatar.
awesome.
You can't blame the YouTubers
These are
for
awesome.
I'm surprised that people send
There's
you
a
hate messages.
Yeah, I mean, not anymore. Just like back then, I got a handful of like people being like, "You're the guy who made this cancer. You're the guy who made this plague upon the earth." And it's been recently a video with VRChat on the official TikTok page, and I talked about the avatar a little bit, very briefly, you know, in the 7-second window that you get to talk on a TikTok. And even some of those comments were like, "Oh my God, he did this. You did this." Like, I mean, it's like objectively, yeah, I did do it, but like, you know, did I make the meme? No. Did I capitalize on it? Kind of. Would you? Yes. You
I
would do
don't
the same thing.
I
You would
don't
do the
blame
same
you.
thing.
I do not blame you for taking advantage of something someone else is doing, especially if you created the avatar. Kudos to you for business.
Outside of that, it was like all of these kids were now suddenly in VR chat, and it's like, I think it's, I mean, there's a few things. It's like, one, it's a good thing that they're using an optimized avatar, right? It's a good thing they're using an optimized avatar, because that makes all the instances that they're in better, objectively. Second thing is, like, all of these kids would come in the game, they'd come to my world, and then I felt like I had a duty to make sure those kids were safe, because a lot of people, even, you know, predators would come to my world to find these children, and I would have to sit there basically 24/7 and just moderate and just get rid of the bad people. Obviously, it wasn't always predators. Most of the time, it was just teenagers trying to pick on, you know, younger children, because that's what teenagers do. Kids picking on kids. And I would just sit there and I would try and moderate. You know, felt like there was some kind of responsibility.
Well, I would, for me as a person, outside of YouTube or VR chat at all, I very much appreciate you taking the time out of your day to keep those kids safe in your world. I can only imagine the amount of work and effort it took to make sure they were safe, and that's not something a lot of people on the internet would do, I will tell you. A lot of people would just click off and move somewhere else. Hello, I'm going to quickly interrupt your video. Please come follow us on any of our socials. We have a card down that way in the description, metaversedegen.co. You can find us on Discord. You can find us on Twitter, which X, whatever. Right here in this space, you'll see the @ You can find me, Lion. And as well, we have a Patreon, which we've started a whole other show as a thank you for those who've signed up, such as Training Fangs, Forbidden Zero, and Niche. So thank you all for watching the video on how these games are going. I'll leave you to the rest of it. Enjoy.
I mean, in VR chat, I'm sure you've seen, and I'm sure a lot of, even some people watching will be like, "Oh, I hate the kids in VR chat. The kids are so annoying. Why are they even here?" And it's like, you were doing the same thing when you were that age. You were probably on the internet doing stuff you shouldn't be doing. And it's like, just because they're here doesn't mean they deserve to have a bad time. I think they deserve respect. They're still humans, right? They're still just little guys. And I think the best thing you can do, like, even if you don't want to deal with them, kicking them and stuff is so annoying. Just like mute them. If you really don't want to deal with them, mute them. But like, I think in one case, in like one way you can justify it is like, if they're in a world with you, then they're not in a world with a predator, right? That's a good thing. You're essentially protecting people by being near them. So don't kick kids. Kids get a bad rap.
Well,
that's to the audience, by the way, not you.
Oh yeah, no, I very much agree, and I may not be a fan of those annoying brush kids, but also the exact same point. I've kind of began to live by a life motto of lead by example, especially around children. When you act a certain way, generally kids are sponges. They'll take up your entire personality if they like it. For example, the boys in the brush. They saw an adult that was doing something they thought was funny, and then off they went into VR chat like a plague, pretending to be the brush people from YouTube. So I do very much agree with you, and also like to add, make sure you act appropriately because the kids in VRChat will emulate you, almost guaranteed.
Yeah. It's interesting as well because those kids, like back then when I was talking to them, this was in like 2020, I think, right? When the brush thing blew up, they were, even back then they were annoying. Like I even had some kids that were ripping avatars and stuff, and they would pass the files around, and I was like, this is kind of annoying. I'm gonna just like, most of the time I would ignore it, but if they went out of their way to make the avatar public and be a nuisance, I would, tell VRChat like, hey, can you just like get rid of that? That's kind of annoying. And back then the kids had no idea what they were doing, of course, because they're just kids. It's like they make mistakes. And I've had kids who are now teenagers, obviously, find me and reach out and be like, hey, I was one of those annoying kids and I'm so sorry. I'm like, you didn't do anything. Like, it's not a big deal. But I've had so many examples of teenagers, like ex-brush kids, reaching out
Wow.
and being like, I'm sorry. Like, it's fine.
You
Live
know,
your life. You're killing it.
I never heard stories about that of people who once ripped, even as kids, apologizing later. I have had met someone on the podcast who ended up stopping ripping and tried to do good by it, but that was only one case I've heard about. It's actually quite interesting to hear that.
I mean, people change. People grow up. Even, like, I imagine some of the kids probably, I mean, it's not so much about how they stopped ripping or they were rippers. It's like more so that they probably just moved on in life and maybe they're not playing VRChat anymore. And they were just tangentially reminded of this guy that they met in game, because a lot of these kids I was talking to, like, there was frequent kids who would come to the world and I'd be like, and I would know them by name and I was like trying to make sure they were having a decent time in the game. But a lot of them knew me and a lot of them were annoying. A lot of them were like really cringe, but they're kids. That's what they do. And then, eventually they came back as teenagers and they were like, I'm sorry. And I'm like, you don't have to apologize. It's all good. It's chill.
So I actually have a few questions, but I'll start with the most obvious. What was it like for you seeing that explosion of popularity in your avatar due to the YouTube content that was being produced with them?
Uh, I have no idea. It's like a blur in my head. I was I was chilling one day and somebody messaged me, one of my friends I was talking to at the time, and they sent me a TikTok of somebody in a green morph suit with two fucking brushes attached to, like, like a sweeping brush, like
Yeah.
two of them on either side of their head. And they're like, somebody cosplayed your character. I'm like, what the fuck do you mean somebody cosplayed my character? And then it had a TikTok has the sound attachment, I think. It's like, it tells you what the sound of the thing is. I don't use TikTok, so I can't remember if this is actually how it works. There's a sound at the bottom, and it said the boys no square or something because it had the song on it. And I went through and I eventually like located the boys channels, and I was like, this is insane. These videos have millions and millions of views, and they're using my character in the thumbnail, and that's so cool. It's like, I don't know. It was so interesting to see. I talked about this extensively with my partner, my wife, Spooky Ghost Spooky, the person who made the black cat. They also made something that's fairly popular, and I think it's like when you make something that big, it's like when you make something and it becomes that big. Obviously, I didn't make it that big. I have no control. But when you make it and it becomes that big, it's like it stops becoming yours. It becomes something else. It's like watching it from a third-party perspective. Like you probably look at the brush the same way I look at the brush. It's like that's a character that some guy made, and now it's kind of, annoying. It's a
I
you,
don't consider
you,
it
I'm
annoying.
separate from it.
I consider.
I know. I was like,
Oh yeah, yeah.
I was mostly just like as an example. But yeah, it's like it becomes a separate entity, and you just stop thinking about it as something you made. I don't know. Hopefully, you get to experience that one day. I don't know. It's very strange. It's a very strange feeling.
Well, I can't control what the internet does, and hopefully it doesn't end up being cancer. I just hope that. I just hope it's not fucking cancer. But the internet does what the internet does. I guess that's how it goes
Yeah,
sometimes.
that's the beauty of it, right?
Indeed.
That's part.
Oh.
Yeah.
So with the you mentioned earlier you moderated some, or like in during the height where kids would come in looking for your avatars. What was the experience like trying to moderate those instances and seeing those influx of kids as well during the height of the brush popularity? What was their community like as well? The people wanting to become the brush.
you had, I mean, there was a lot of passerbys, you know, people you would see every now and again. People you would see like once and never come back. There was a lot of people, like I said, there was like cliques. There was people who came back. There was groups of people who came back every day. We still play VRChat to this day. I've bumped into a lot, like a few of them, and they're like, "Damn, you still play?" I'm like, "Yeah, of course I still fucking play. Like, why would I stop playing?" And I'm like, "Why do you still play?" Because they're, you know, they're teenagers now.
Hmm.
What was
Wow.
it like? The question was, what was it like to moderate? I went off topic.
Yeah.
It was fine. It eventually got to the point where VRChat doesn't provide a lot of moderation tools, so I commissioned a moderation tool from a friend to like make it so I could move players around, teleport players, you know, isolate players if they were being a nuisance and I didn't want to kick them, or if I needed to talk to somebody privately, which was, I really only used the private talk to rippers. Like if a ripper joined and I knew their name, I was like, because a lot of the time, this is one thing I don't think people touch on a lot, is a lot of the time people just don't know that ripping is bad, especially when they're younger. Like I talked to a lot of them. One situation that sticks out in my mind is there was this one guy, and I saw he was ripping a lot of my stuff. So I saw on his profile he had his SoundCloud linked, and I was like, okay, that's interesting. So this guy's a creative. He makes things, but he's, you know, stealing. I'm not gonna. It's not stealing, but he's like taking my things without permission. I don't believe in stealing things digital. It's not real. Piracy's not real. But yeah, I checked his SoundCloud, and he came in my world one day, and I was like, "Yo, what are you like? What's up? Why are you propagating my work without my permission?" And he was like, "What do you mean?" He was like, "You're sharing. You're like, you stole my files and you're uploading it." And he was like, "Yeah." I was like, "How would you feel about it if I did that to your music?" And like, it took a while, and you could see the cogs turning, and he was like, "Oh, right, yeah." And then he was like, and then he stopped. That was it. That was
Oh, wow.
the whole conversation. It's just like sometimes you just need to put it in perspective for some of these people. They just don't. They can't comprehend what it's. I don't know. They can't comprehend the damage they could be doing. I guess it's like completely oblivious. A lot of cognitive dissonance. I think people putting in motion.
That is interesting because I kind of figured that it was like that, but I didn't really put a lot of thought into it. It is quite interesting to hear that. Was it common for people to like just not know?
Oh, all the time. Because it's mostly kids. They're new to the game. They have no idea. They don't know what anything's like. Like the same kids would be the kids who would DM me and be like, "Hey, can you make me a brush avatar for free?" And I'm like, "No, I can't. I'm busy." And then some of them I'd be like, they'd want a commission for like a wholly new avatar, and I'd give them a price, and they'd be like, "Damn, I only have like $5." Like that's, I mean, it's like I appreciate the enthusiasm, and I'm glad you're reaching out to artists, because it's, you know, it's awesome to reach out to artists to get things made, but obviously they have no grasp of what stuff takes to make, which is fine because they're kids and that's how they learn.
Well, it does seem, even though they came in for the meme and the popularity from the YouTubers, but to hear that they also came back even in lieu of some of the things you've mentioned, I guess kind of I think is amazing, because VRChat's amazing. I haven't been here nearly as long as you have been here for, but it's an amazing
Played
place.
more than me though.
I wouldn't. Well,
5K
yeah.
hours. I think I only have like, I think I only have like 4,000. I don't know. I can't remember.
Well, to also be
But
fair,
you have
a
more than
lot of
me.
that was during COVID, and
Right.
in the time where there's like lengthy periods of time where either you're not working or you've got nothing else to do because nothing is open. You can either go to
Yeah.
work, which may or may not have hours, or VRChat.
Yeah.
And then there's DoorDash. Speaking of that, for some reason I had this funny little memory of one thing related to other. Pizza Hut near me, a pizza place, did a funny little COVID gag where if you ordered a pizza, they would include a paper towel, toilet paper with it. And they'd give you a roll of toilet paper with your order pizza when you order the pizza, which is, don't know why they did it, but it was fantastic gag.
I completely forgot about the toilet paper thing. That's like something that like slipped my mind. It's like, yeah, people were mad about toilet paper back then. That's funny. I forgot about that.
Well, fun fact, I work in a grocery store in real life, And I've saw a lot of people fight over toilet paper. Like one really jacked buff dude fighting an old lady who has 2 carts of toilet paper. 2 fucking carts of toilet
And
paper. Don't know why, but it was so common.
yeah, there was a lot of clips that came out of America that was like that. I also back then I was working a grocery job, and kind of just before COVID all blew up. That's when the brush thing happened. That's when I think that's when it happened, right? Like the timeline of things in my head is like all muddled together. But it
It
was
does.
around that time, and I ended up quitting. I ended up quitting because I did sell the brush IP, and I was like, I was fortunate enough to not have to work back then. But I feel your pain.
Oh, well, I
Sounds
thought it
awful.
was I thought it was entertaining. I'm a person who has very thick skin. It takes quite a lot for me to be annoyed by anything. I found enjoyment of watching an 80-year-old lady try and fight a 36-year-old man who is also pathetic in his own way for toilet paper.
Yeah. I'm also me, just like having, I don't know, grocery jobs are, I don't know, you
Well,
know, it's bad. They're bad jobs. They suck.
with where I work, I'm very happy because it's an amazing place where I work. It's very encouraging. They, because of them, I'm able to do crazy stuff like do this YouTube thing for fun. Um, and I'm
Yeah,
able to pay my bills. All my bills are paid.
that's fair.
So I'm happy. I don't think it is a bad thing
Fair.
at all.
I'm looking. I don't think it's a bad thing. I think it's obviously a necessary thing. But like in terms of doing it, when I was doing it, I didn't want to be there. It was so, I don't know. It was mind numbing. It was awful.
Hmm.
Didn't like it. But I don't know. As long as
Hey,
you're happy. Happiness is key.
well, to each their own. Everyone finds happiness somehow, some way. And fortunately, I've been able to find a really great place to work, so I can't complain at all. So, what was it like for you with the boom of everything with during COVID as well, since that's sort of on topic with like the brushes and everyone being in VR chat all the time? What was it like from your perspective seeing things grow and your products being used more and more?
Good. It was cool.
Hmm.
I like I like it when people use my stuff. I think it's interesting. I always love hearing stories of people who came into VR chat and they were like, your avatar was my first avatar. The seven, the 8-ball head guy, and the fox, or the bunny guy. It's like that was my first avatar ever, and it was my main avatar. And even some people, it's still their main avatar. Like the 8-ball guy. There's a DJ who used to use the avatar for so long, and he was so cool. And he's a Japanese DJ, so there was a language barrier, but I was able to meet him one time. I was like, it was just so, I don't know. It's cool. It's cool to see people using my stuff, basically.
Hmm. So, since you've been in here in VRChat for so long, what motivates you to keep on making things for VRChat worlds, avatars, in the works? What keeps you creating?
Uh, hmm. That's a uh money. Uh,
Fair.
money. Um, all my friends are here. I met my wife in VRChat, and
Wow.
she used to live in America. Now she lives in the UK. I met her in here. All aside from like my main friend group, all of my other friends, I've met people in VRChat, like who I met in 2018, and I've met them in real life as well. And every now and again, we spent, what was not Christmas, it was one of the holidays or one of them. Basically, just like all my friends are here, and I make money off of this place, and also it's just a good place to be. Everything's so chaotic and crazy, and it's an ever-evolving platform, and that's always fun to watch.
Hmm. Wow. Well, I'm.
Why are you still here?
Am I? Pardon?
Why are you still in VRChat?
My friends are in VRChat. I initially came in here because I saw Valve, sort of related, but
Uh-huh.
I'll get there. I initially came in here because Valve created Half-Life Alyx. I loved
Oh, that's
Half-Life
sick. That's a
2,
good reason.
2.5, and
That's a
I
good
saw
reason.
VR Half-Life. Like, have to get it now. There's an index. I got to get that thing. I'm going to take what money I have. I'm going to purchase it and get into VR. Played it. Stupid amount of hours of it. And then I eventually said, like, what else do I do? There isn't anything interesting in VR. Then I saw this VR chat thing.
Okay.
I was like, screw it. It's free.
Yeah.
Let's try it. And I've been hooked since. So I came here initially here now because of friends. I have met so many amazing people over the last 3 years, 4 years.
Oh,
I don't
yeah.
remember.
4 years. 4 years since 2020, if that's when you started.
Yeah,
But yeah.
I think closer to late
Yeah, all my
2020.
friends are here.
Mm.
That's the main reason anybody sticks around. It's like, I think the people who come in and they don't end up making friends, those are the people who end up leaving, right? Or
Mm.
the people who get disillusioned with the platform or disillusioned with their friends. It's like, oh, it's all about drama. Like, no, it's kind of just like the groups you attract maybe are all about drama.
Mm.
I don't know.
Well, in terms
But
of
yeah, everybody's here.
in terms of VRChat, I always saw it as a platform. As you get out of it, what you look for into it, kind of like YouTube or Twitter or TikTok, for even what you look for in the platform is what you will find most of. Sometimes, though, when you come into the hazing, let's say you enter a random public instance, I'm going to say the black cat, sorry, spooky, and you end up seeing cancer,
Okay.
you may not expect to see cancer, so you kind of inadvertently look for it or find it, whether it's on purpose or accident. But there's a lot of
Yeah.
people, for example, I've met some of them who like came in because of the rave scene. They had a friend who was in the VRChat rave scenes, like, you got to come see this cool thing. And they ignored the VRChat public scene, went into raving, and they end up in a whole different track of VRChat experience, which is different from like the average user coming on at random. I guess I've always thought is you find in VRChat what you look for in VRChat, one way or the other.
Of course. I mean, even like you mentioned, the black cat, it can be chaotic at times, but sometimes that's what you're looking for. Sometimes you're looking for that chaos.
Of
You go to
course.
the black cat, you get the craziest experience. Sometimes you get the most boring experience, but sometimes you get the craziest experience. Everything's a matter of perspective.
True. That and the black cat's also an iconic VRChat map. VRChat wouldn't be VRChat without it as well.
It's a good map. I mean, I'm biased. I think it's a great map, actually.
Oh, I agree. It was one of the first maps I've entered. To be honest, it was the first portal I went into.
Yeah. Of course. I mean, for most people, it is, right? It's like usually first in the row of public lobbies. It's it's still the most popular public world, I think. There's the movie worlds that get more numbers, but those are mostly private numbers, so it's a different audience. But yeah, Black Cat's awesome. I love it there. It's my home world. My home world is a public black cat. So whenever I join the game, I'm just immediately thrust into it.
Oh, so I do have another question for you. So it's kind of a multi-parter. When you first entered VRChat, did you expect to be anywhere near where you are now? And what has it been like through your experience, like meeting your wife and having such hardcore friend groups on the platform?
I didn't even expect to be making things in VRChat. I was just like, I joined VRChat as a joke because it was funny. There was funny stuff happening. And then I just like, as a creative and seeing a platform where you can be creative, it's just kind of moth to a flame, I guess. Just kept sticking around and making stuff. And then on top of that is like meeting so many other like-minded people, other creatives also. It's like, I don't know. It's a sense of community, I think. People are sick. People are awesome.
Okay. So, another question as well. Where did you get the name Blueasis, and what made you choose this specific avatar and to stay into it?
My real middle name, like my real life middle name, is Blue, and Asis is the name of a character from you're like 30 something, right? You're older.
Yeah.
Okay, so you know the DS, you know the Nintendo DS.
Yes, I do. I remember the Nintendo DS
The
quite well.
Nintendo DS, the Nintendo DSi.
Yep, I remember that.
That had a drawing app called Flipnote Studio. It was like a Flipnote app basically, and there was a cool animator on there called Boss. I think he still makes things to this day. I follow him on Twitter, but he had a cool character. It was a stick man. He had 2 daggers, I think, and he was called Asus. And I stole that name when I was 12. So my name is it's a combination of my real name, Blue, my middle name, and a cool character I liked. Blueasis.
Wow.
Oh.
That's pretty cool. It's quite an interesting reason to have your name. And what made you choose the avatar you're in, and what keeps you using it as an avatar?
I was debating which avatar to use for this recording actually, because I feel like I don't really have a main avatar. I always kind of use whatever I made most recent. This isn't my most recent avatar, but it is my most humanoid, and I think there's some like psychological stuff happening in VRChat where people like to talk to a humanoid-looking avatar. But you know, my other choice was a big worm. I was going to be a big worm.
That would have been very interesting. Although, in being in VRChat as long as I have, I'm used to talking to all sorts of characters.
I don't think it's anything people do on purpose. I think it's just like something I've noticed as a person who would use all my weird avatars. It's like I think there's a psychological thing that happens where people are just like more open to have a discussion with something that is more human. Also, you don't get the comments of people running up to you and you're like, "Ew, what the fuck is that? What the fuck are you?" Like you can avoid all of that just by looking normal, looking like a guy or a girl.
I can understand that. What led you to that specific assumption that people prefer looking at human avatars versus human-esque avatars versus like random trash cans with eyeballs?
Playing the game, yeah,
Oh, fair.
playing the game and using those avatars. Like a lot of my old avatars are very silly, very weird, wacky looking fellas, and you know, this is the most human. Well, yeah, no, it's the most human avatar I've made.
Oh, wow.
You know, it looks like a human woman. I think kind of, well, more like an anime-ish cartoon. You know what I mean.
Yeah. So
It's not a fucking 8-ball with a puffer jacket.
it's still a really good avatar, though. With your characters like the 8-ball, the brush, and the avatar you're in, what have been the inspirations for those characters? What helped you create them as life?
I don't know. I have no idea. The brush, I drew it as a sketch when I was in college. I drew it years before. It was a character I drew years before I made it. And usually like that's never the case, but it was just something that I drew and it was in the back of my head rattling around. Um, I went to the zoo with my college, and there was a funny monkey called a marmoset. Should look it up, marmoset. They have big bristles on the side of their head. They're really cool guys. And I sketched one down. It was literally the face of the brush. It was like an oval, line, mouth, then scribbles for the bristles. So the brush, not very many people know, the brush is a monkey. It's based on a monkey.
Oh,
Um, Other than that, the other characters is just like whatever pops into my head. Like the 8-ball guy is just, I imagined a big puffer jacket with a spherical head, and I drew that very quickly before I went to work one day, and then I came back and I modeled it.
oh, wow.
But I was just thinking about the character all day. I was like, I want to go home. I want to make this character, and I did. And then I put it in the game, and it was in the default row because I put it up for them to do that.
Oh, wow. So with the model you're in now, does this have a similar story character that popped in your head and you modeled, or was there some level of areas you pulled inspiration from?
I mean, yeah, I just like I have like a inspiration folder of just like stuff that I like, and with this it was like I wanted to. This was more of a test of like I feel like I could make a human character that looks decent, because usually people would ask for commissions and I'd be like I don't really do human characters, and then it'd be like okay, and it'd be like here's another person, here's like another friend who does more better human characters, and I was like maybe I should just like try and do it. Maybe I should just do one, and then I did it, and you know the eyes are maybe a bit too big, but you know it's got a style to it, and I'm happy with how it came out.
I think the avatar looks amazing, to be quite honest. It's a very VRChat avatar, eyes and all. I think it looks great.
I'm happy with it. I think it looks awesome too. I think I'm killing it. I think I'm doing awesome. But I think it's good.
Wow. Well, I will say thank you so very much for joining us today. It's been an absolute pleasure getting to meet you and have you on and get to learn about you. So thank you.
Of course. I appreciate the questions. Very very thoughtful.
Why isn't the VRChat
What?
camera let me do the thing? Uh-oh.
Oh no.
I'm having a VRChat issue. Oh, why'd I respawn? I clicked the camera and then I respawned.
Tragedy.
Okay, there we go.
It's going so well. It's going so well until the last second.
Oh, it's
You wanna redo everything from the top?
nah. I'm one of those people with a lot of our content. I'm sure if you scrub back through some of the older stuff, I just run with it. There's one where we were talking with a friend of ours, White Strelitzi, who's a dancer in VRChat, and midway through making jokes, and through the jokes, I was like in reference to what we were talking about, threw my legs in the air, and midway through, as my legs are in the air, I froze and then crashed. And then you could hear a little bit of the background of their banter before I got forced into the loading screen. And then I still kept the crash because it's part of what it is. Raptor and I, as you've seen, we don't script anything. We just kind of run with it. And so if I did it funny, then I did it funny. It's going to be there, I guess, unless it's something you don't wish to see. But at least me personally, it is what it is.
It's fun.
It's
fun. Bloopers and all.
Well, again, thank you. It means a lot to be able to meet you. And again, thank you for your time.
Thank you for having me.
Where can the audience find you if they wish to reach out and find you?
Well, if this is your first time hearing about me and you hate the brush, definitely DM me on Twitter at Blueasis without the E, BLUASIS. You should actually shout at me. I don't mind. It's kind of funny most of the time. Do that.
Okay. Well, everyone, thank you so much for joining us this evening, you and the audience. Hope you have a good, wonderful day. See you in the metaverse. I would tell Raptor to do the thing, but he's not here. So come join a VRChat world. Get into a brush or any new avatar Blueasis has, and come make some friends. You never know where you'll end up. Enjoy the rest of your day, guys.